With Morgenröte, we added a lot of content for players that want to experience other aspects of the Victorian Age. But even if you're more interested in creating a globe-spanning empire, we have a lot of stuff that you can do and experience. After all, Great Britain, for example, is infamous for stealing artifacts from all over the world, and so can you. If you click on the Rename Technology button, you will get to the Tech tab. Here you can find 3 additional tabs that I will show you.
I am very happy that our interface actually changed a lot since last ModCon. First, we were able to create our own window with its own button, thanks to an update to the base game. That was already a huge improvement, but it got even better. Bakhmut from the Manaflow mod offered us to rework the interface again, which was very much needed as I created it when I really didn't know a lot about how to create a user interface. The new interface has many improvements. First of all, the 3 categories, Science, Arts and Sports, are now separated in 3 windows, each with their own button. This makes the interface way less crowded. Before the rework, there were 9 academics on one page, and you had to scroll endlessly to reach the one you were looking for. Now we have 4 tabs in our Science window. The first one gives you an overview over the academic progress, your scientific focus, and your scientific expeditions. Speaking of the scientific expeditions, don't they look fantastic here? The academics themselves got a facelift as well. They now have a different structure and buttons with more information. If you missed the old layout though, you can just switch it by clicking this little button here. Our goal for the academics was to be able to show all of them on one page, so that you do not have to scroll anymore. As we are planning for a maximum of 4 academics per specialty, this should work for most of them. As we are already looking at the academics themselves, did you notice that we added new ones? The Mathematical Technical tab now has the Chemist too, who joined the Engineer and the Astronomer. The Chemist now also has a fancy window displaying all the elements that were discovered. The cool thing about that is that once the periodic table is invented, you actually get the better looking periodic table. The Astronomer got a new window as well that shows you planets and astronomical objects, as well as the moons that were discovered, another new feature that we added. In the Natural History tab we have another newcomer, the Geologist, who can improve your buildings, research geological features and even try to explore volcanoes. And the Humanities tab now has the Physician joining the Archaeologist and Anthropologist. Physicians are very important as diseases will ravage your nation. We also created a custom window for the physician that gives you an overview over the diseases and the Red Cross. You can, for example, see how far you got in discovering and treating those diseases, which will allow you to actually prevent them. Something really cool that is possible thanks to the community mod framework is the ability to click on an alert and being directed to the place you need to be. If your geologist is not doing anything, you can click on the alert and the Natural History tab will be opened, for example. Speaking of the community mod framework, our buttons have keybinds as well for easy access. If you press your M key, you will get to the Science window. Ctrl and A will get you to the Arts window, and Ctrl and S will open the Sports window. Speaking of arts, let us take a look at it. During the last ModCon we were talking about adding the writer to the game, which we were able to do. So there currently are 3 artists, the composer, the writer and the painter. If you open the arts window, you will first see the progress to your next artist and possible art specializations though. Additionally, on the bottom there is an overview over the various centers of arts that can get created. I really like those icons as well. In the next tab you can see the artists themselves. As you might notice, there are quite a few historical artists that you can hire. During the last 1.5 years, we added quite many historical characters. I think there are now slightly over 700 characters, most of them with unique DNA as well. So you can meet great minds like Einstein, Darwin or Mendeleev. Next up is the sports window. It is separated into sports and aeronautics. For sports we recently added the car racers and the national coach. For the car racers we even have a window showing you various information and allowing you to design your own race car. So get ready to race with Ferrari. Obviously there were many other changes as well. I slightly reworked the paleontologist for example. But maybe I should let one of them tell you more about the life of a paleontologist first.
When I was a child, I loved searching for fossils. Even though I mostly found tiny belemnoids, my interest was sparked. So I went down to the university, studied every day, learned more about natural history than anyone else. My first job out of university was going on a paleontological expedition for my country. I loved that. Now, this formation was just recently discovered to contain fossils, and they told me, kid, find as many as you can. It wasn't easy. We had to fight nature herself. Sometimes we lost a good, promising site to a mudslide. But there were people helping us with valuable information. In the end, we found some interesting fossils, and even some bones. Now, what followed was systemizing all the fossils. I actually found some additional ones in rocks that others thought to be empty. During that time, the first public collection of paleontology opened in Europe. Now, understand that Darwin's discovery of evolution allowed us to systemize the periods of fossils more precisely. It also sparked interest in the newfound animals of times long gone. The time was right to get together a brilliant team of men for my next expedition. Well, about 2 years after the last expedition, it was time for another one. I traveled to the same spot again, and with the experience I'd acquired since then, searching for dig sites, it had become much, much easier, I assure you. Well, obviously it was a great help to have a team there, but I had to get most of the initial work and direction of the dig done by myself. But towards the end there, I was able to leave them, a very promising site they were working, and they continued to search for all the good fossils and, more importantly, the bones. Among the bones we discovered in this expedition, one of our finds was an excellent specimen, a gigantic skull, the likes we'd never seen before. It was after this expedition when I realized it would actually be possible to mount the bones of the dinosaur and create a skeleton for display. Obviously, this was not easy toil, but I worked day and night to recreate this monster of the past. Oh, and after months of work, we finally finished. I was so happy, but, in hindsight, I might have made a few small errors. Nonetheless, it was a magnificent Tyrannosaurus, and it was the first attraction of the Paleontological Museum. Shortly afterward, a regrettable incident followed. A fellow paleontologist who I thought was a friend, a colleague, he wrote a scathing article about my skeleton. He said I put the head on his tail. Well, that was a horrible thing to say. A horrible thing to say in public. Now, it might have been true, but a horrible thing to say in public. Whoa. Well, I didn't let him stop me. I just decided to find more bones than him. You could say a rivalry was born. On the next expedition, the rivalry got downright hot. That traitor decided to send some goons after me. One night, we were woken up by a massive explosion, and the dig site we had discovered just the day before was blown up. All the bones were lost. I could not be stopped. My expedition was a success, in spite of his sabotage. We even found something quite special there. But the T-Rex still haunted me. I decided to try my hand at it again. This time it turned out perfectly. Perfectly, I tell you. One could say my museum yet lacked. So I decided to create a prehistorical scenery. It became an important part of the collection. What followed were years of expeditions and mounting dinosaur bones and preparing fossils for the collection, scientific papers, and so on and the like. And at an age when other people were already retired, I reached the peak of my creativity. I invited all the paleontologists of distinction to a congress to clarify a question that had been driving me for ages. Why did the dinosaurs not walk among us anymore? How did they become extinct? There were various theories at the Congress, the sinking of the sea level, pathological gigantism, insufficient sexual activity. One astronomer even suggested that an asteroid impact was responsible for the extinction. An asteroid? Madness. That's just madness. My opinion was clear. Mammals were much more efficient than the dinosaurs, and they ate their eggs. And this ultimately led to their extinction. Many of my colleagues shared my opinion, and so it was recorded as the official result of the conference. And my work is far from finished, even if I occasionally misplace a bone here or there. That's nothing. I am still one of the best paleontologists in the world, if not the best.
Here I would like to thank Dean Webb, the man behind the YouTube channel An Economist Plays, who helped us to give our paleontologist a voice. I think he did a fantastic job sounding like an old American paleontologist. As you might have noticed in the trailer, I reworked the paleontologist to be more similar to the archaeologist. They now go on expeditions, and if you have a paleontological team, you can leave it on an excavation that gives you bones and fossils passively. This is part of an effort to allow projects to be worked on without the academic. In the future, I plan to add this mechanic to other academics as well, for example, the engineer. I also reworked the way skeletons are made. Before, it was an event that fired after a random amount of days. Now it is a journal entry which allows you to keep track of the progress and the chance of it turning into a perfect skeleton or a horrible skeleton. Additionally, you can now partially automate the paleontologist by clicking this button. I also did something else for paleontology that you surely noticed in the trailer, and it is related to something I mentioned in the last ModCon presentation for Morgenröte.
One of our dreams for the future is to have those monuments present on the map, but sadly neither Marco nor I do really know anything about 3D modeling.
Even though we didn't find anyone to create 3D models of our unique buildings for us, we were able to add the first few 3D models on the map. This was possible thanks to Miss Deuce, who created fantastic clothes and props for our characters and helped me to understand the basics of Blender and Substance Painter. So in the last 2 months I worked on some new 3D assets, including a Morgenröte coin, table objects and a few monuments. I am especially happy that I was able to finally include some culinary arts into Morgenröte, and what better way to do so than to have them on the table. So whether you want to have a piece of Battenberg cake or need a drink in form of an old-fashioned, you can now add them to your table and enjoy them while playing. If only we could eat digital objects. One other aspect that we are constantly working on is how to explain to the players how Morgenröte works. So far we mostly added concepts to tooltips and to the Wikipedia in-game. But with the new interface I also wanted to add an actual tutorial. I am still testing how to best implement it, but I hope to have some simple tutorials in Morgenröte soon. I hope to be able to make those tutorials as modular as possible. That way you would, for example, be able to only use the tutorial for a new character that we added. Speaking of adding new characters, I usually try to improve the code and playability of Morgenröte while Marco plans the new characters. And as of now, our plans are to add the architect next. Remember that we're still working on the architect, so it's actually possible that things changed between me recording this and the actual ModCon. The architect will, especially at Game Start, be very important for you. But why is that? Well, if you take a look at the character traits of the architect, you will find an architectural style trait. This trait adds 3 construction points to your country as long as the architect is not working on another project. As you can imagine, 23 construction points are extremely strong for a small country like Switzerland at Game Start. Now let's look at the architects a little more. First, you might notice that the architect is holding a plan in the portrait. I am actually quite proud of it, as it is the first prop and animation I created for Morgenröte. Next up, there are the important values for the architects and your country's architecture. Architectural splendor is a representation of the quality of architecture in your country. It represents beautiful buildings in new styles. Architectural splendor is also a part of the cultural tradition of your country, and unlike other traditions, it gets converted into cultural tradition directly. This cultural tradition will also help you gain more prestige. But an architect can also create blueprints. Basically, we added new prestigious buildings to Morgenröte that you can only build if your architect created blueprints for them. Let's say we want a new monument and press the button for it. Now we can decide which building to construct, and you can see their bonuses. If you choose one of them, a journal entry will be activated. The journal entry will gain progress depending on your architect's traits. Once created, you can use the blueprints to build the building like any other normal building. Architects can also invent or gain new art styles. Right now, those are Bauhaus, Neoclassicism, and Art deco. Once you have gained those art styles, your architect can start improving your cities with even fancier buildings. This will again give you more architectural splendor. As with most artists, you can also invite independent architects to become the main architects of your country. This could be very interesting for smaller countries that want access to the passive bonuses I already mentioned. So this was all about the architect, who will hopefully be in the release following Victoria 3's 1.9 update. So this is nearly the end of the video, and it's time to say thanks to a few people. I already mentioned some names, and there are a lot of other modders and streamers that helped us. But the most important people are you, the players, who give us valuable feedback, give the mod thumbs up, and play with it. Thanks to you, Morgenröte is now the best rated mod on the Victoria 3 workshop, which we honestly never expected to happen. So thank you a lot.